No, I'm not going to do it this time. I'm actually able to speak, I think. I've had practice. I had practice yesterday, actually.
Talking. It's a new thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello and welcome back to the second episode of the HellHades.com podcast. Today we are going to be discussing all things Incarnate, and Raid Boss.
Exciting.
Paul, how's your week been, dude?
Not too bad. It's been busy. We've had a lot going on around the world of the website, and it's also been clan versus clan, so we've no life for a significant proportion of our week. But exciting things coming this weekend for the website.
Clan versus clan was a push this week, wasn't it?
It was.
I
grind.
Well, I went to sleep, and I'll be honest, guys, I was slacking on Clan versus Clan, which I'm sure Paul's about to point out. But I mean, we were not doing well.
It was a bad last hour when I got up after grinding about 4,000 mysteries, and we were 180,000 points behind, and from the depths of despair we rose. We burnt more books. Well, there's a bunch of us, but I'm sure this is not the only tale of Clan versus Clan woe amongst the community. But I'm excited to get into another game this week and see what's going on in the world of Incarnate. As a relative novice to a card collecting universe, it certainly interests me.
Absolutely. So this week I had a catch up with Sham over at Skeleton Hand. Many people will know him from his discussions with HellHades and introductions that you may have seen to Incarnate in general. Now, if you don't know anything about Incarnate is a new gacha-style collection game, which is hopefully going to be released within the next few weeks, at least for people within our community on the website for the initial wave of testing the game. It's something that HellHades has been massively involved in the development of since they first sort of approached us. I think it was back in October, and since then we've been working pretty closely with the guys at Skeleton Hand. We've got a very good relationship with them, some of the things that they're doing with the game is just insane, and much of it gets picked up within this interview. So shall I roll the interview and we'll catch up after that?
Let's hear it.
See, this is the problem. Awesome.
I feel you, man. I feel you. It's all good. It'll get smooth over time. I felt like after take 47, I could deliver the Incarnate is a fantasy punk, and then I was like, wait, what is it again? Collection. That's right.
So Sham, welcome to the podcast. For the guys listening who don't yet know about Sham and about Incarnate and Skeleton Hand and Raid Boss and all the insane projects that you're working on, do you want to just introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what it is that you're working on?
Glad to be here, man. You kind of summed it up in a nutshell, like a lot of the things that we're working on. We've got Raid Boss, which you guys have talked about. That's the board game.
Yep.
It is the first project that we ended up finishing at Skeleton Hand.
That's a good thing.
It wasn't the one we started first, but it is the one that we finished first.
I actually thought that was the original product, I guess.
No. The history of Incarnate is one that maybe hopefully I'll have to write a book on it. That would be fun for me to do. Not that anyone wants to read what I have to say, but so I'm the original founder, one of the original founders. I'm kind of the hype guy who convinced everybody else that this was a good idea.
Yep.
And it's an important role. Mm-hmm. And so Raid Boss is actually a side project that I started while we were kind of in a transition period with Incarnate.
Okay.
And Incarnate has had several transitions, right? So I'll give you the spark notes on it. That's a reference for people that are old like me. It initially started as I'm like, all right, okay, I'm gonna make a game that is Magic the Gathering played on like a battlefield, like Dungeons and Dragons, essentially. That was like the core idea. Board game.
Yep.
And I made that board game. I made a bunch of stand-in models, and I had bunch of cool stuff that we had. It was pretty cool. And then I was like, this is cool, but it's going to be really hard to scale, really hard to ship. There's a lot of like issues with it. This would be way better as a video game. Hey, I went to college for computer science and business. I could do that. That sounds that'll work.
Easy, right?
So I hooked some of the other founders. I got Sean involved. I got Dirk involved. And we kind of started working on it, more or less as a side project, and that was like 2015.
Wow. Okay.
So that's it's been a minute.
I mean, in fairness, in terms of development of a video game, it's actually a pretty respectable time. But it does sound like a very long time. I imagine the time's flown by.
Yeah, well, and we've done a lot of things along the way because like I said, it went from this board game to now it's the video game version of that board game, which was cool. Like that concept. We went to GDC. We got invited by oddly enough, the people that we asked to do our sound. They said, this is such a cool idea for the way you want to mix your music that we want you to give a talk at GDC. And we're like,
wow,
okay.
Sounds
awesome. Good.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, the game was in like such like prototype, like not even just like crazy. Anyway, so from there we kind of like had a bunch of iterations. I don't want to give you the whole tale of two cities over here, but we had to kind of transition to away from the deck building card aspect of it, and transitioned into kind of this more hero collector, closer to that feel of like Final Fantasy Tactics, X hero collector type feel, and actually we've evolved one more time, and this is kind of like what we do. It seems like into this NFT play to earn space. Little information. We've talked about this before, that we were going to do NFTs.
Yep.
But now what's cool is that it's very exciting how we're going to do it and how we're going to be kind of this. People keep asking, oh, is it free to play friendly?
Yep.
And now the answer is, well, yeah, it's free to play to earn.
Yeah. So
what I mean?
I heard Hell Hades dropping that terminology. I can't remember if it was on stream or in a recent video that he put out. And he just finished it up with, we've got something big coming, there's something big in the works, and we're going to let you know about it soon. But I'm just going to say one line, and that's play to earn.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was like the mic drop moment. And I know obviously we're still waiting for that reveal, but taking that hint with the NFTs, we know that you're a hero collector game. Lots of people within our community have been testing it, and lots of people are waiting to get their hands on the game as it is anyway. So I'm sure people can put two and two together with what may be going on with that. But obviously we'll hang on for Hell Hades to do his interview with you to really sort of dive into that. So I guess what's the plan and what's the roadmap looking like with Incarnate, rather than obviously we've got Raid Boss, which the guys can go on hellhades.com. There's a link to Raid Boss. We're actually giving away a signed copy during our event in June, so if you guys haven't checked that out, make sure that you do on the website.
Yes.
But so how's the roadmap looking with Incarnate, I guess, as of now? Because we've had a few pushbacks, which I think Hell Hades and I both agreed that they're necessary, because it's going to bring that extra quality to the game when people eventually get their hands on it. But where are we with it sort of now?
Yeah. So you spoke to a bunch of stuff. Like I guess I'll start back at the first thing with the conversation with Hell Hades.
Yep.
That's actually coming pretty soon. We're going on another podcast that's actually around this NFT thing, and we want to make sure that we get that out, get kind of the messaging out before we do.
Very cool.
So that the Hell Hades community, we've had this link for quite a while. Simon and I were kind of talking about like when we started working together, and essentially I think it was back in October.
Yeah.
Last October.
It's been a while, yeah.
It's been a minute. So we've been riding his coattails in a sense. Like he's He's awesome. We don't need to go into then how awesome he is, but everyone knows Hades is awesome.
Especially not on this podcast. This is where we rip it into him, not.
That's right. I mean, yeah. Hades, God, this guy.
He gets too much of the limelight. This podcast is the Fiction and Saphira show, so.
That's right. But you know, and Fiction. I mean, you've done a lot of that. You know, like not even behind the scenes, doing the Kickstarter video, helping us. That's right. Fiction is awesome. Fiction is the coolest guy. Yeah. But so then talking about timelines. So as you mentioned, I'll give like the general. It's like Hero Collector. It's played on a 3D transformable battlefield. You can customize your characters and mix them, leading to there being currently more than 8,000 different possible combinations of characters.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts, and that's without, you know, of course we're not counting the, you know, Eternals, which are essentially our equipment, and then the customization you can do beyond that. But the core of what's, you know, coming now is you'll be able to play, or people are able right now in Hades community, and in about a month. So I'll give you the date. It's the 6th, of next month. So August 6th is what we're shooting for the Hell Hades. I forget what you guys call it.
July 6th or
July 6th. Sorry, July 6th. Yeah, 1 month, not
I think
3 days from now.
A couple of people in the community just had to shed a tear because when you said August there, but no, July 6th I think is what we're looking at. Which
exactly. So it's coming pretty soon, and that will represent this NFT thing that we'll be talking, you know, in more specificity about soon, which I'm actually surprised about. I wasn't sure we were going to be able to get that in, but I spoke to our lead developer, and surprise, we actually will be able to get these things.
That is big. I did not know this. This is news to me, guys. Wow. Yep. That's cool.
It's pretty hype. It's crazy that we're gonna be at that point, because I thought this was gonna be a really complex process, and it is. But what's nice is that our lead developer, he's done this before for another game very recently, or not in the same space at all, but something similar enough that we could kind of like port over a lot of those concepts.
Got you.
So yeah, roadmap is looking good from the perspective of
awesome.
You know, it like you said, it was pushed back. We had a good reason. We basically wanted to make sure that people could play the first boss. And then again, I'm trying to talk about things that I can't talk about right now. other stuff that is exciting about that.
You can see the PR team sat behind him, just
right.
ready to pounce.
Sir, not yet.
Yeah. This is if you could just hold that. I'm gonna get like the cease and desist or whatever is the request for takedown of the podcast the second that it goes out. Is that actually that information is not ready to go out?
That's right. But yeah, it's great, man. It's you know, it's been like you said, it's been kind of a longer road, but it's not one of those. It's not one of those like, oh, it was so hard. It's like, no, I've been doing what I want to do since 2015 or maybe before that, obviously, and I think people are starting to kind of catch on to the vision and get interested in what's happening, and a lot of that has been because of you guys, honestly. And so I'm psyched to get people's feedback on where we're at, and I think people are going to like it because we've made some for those who've been part of the alpha test, which we had starting back, I guess, in December, maybe.
Yeah, it must have been
January. It was January.
Okay,
I want to say. So we had that way back when. We got a lot of good feedback, and we've had some testers that have continued to kind of help us work through bugs and stuff. And so, but even they haven't seen a lot of the things that we're going to come, like, because we did this most recent patch, this like smaller patch that we were going to have with the community, and we decided that it didn't make sense to push it to the larger community until we got these massive changes that I'm getting to see right now, and I can't wait to start showing people like how awesome it is. It's awesome.
so I haven't actually had chance to play the game since back when we originally alpha tested it, and that's purely because my workload has gone from kind of doing this as a part-time job to now running a full gaming organization within that sort of space. So I'm actually waiting to experience it for the first time with the community, and I mean, based on the things that I'm seeing and the experience that I had back then, I mean, I really enjoyed the game back then. So I mean, you are hoping that people are going to really like the game. I honestly think with some of the things that you've got working in the works that people are going to love this game, and it's purely because it brings things that, although it's in a genre that we're very used to within the gacha environment and things like that, and is that type of game, the actual experience of the gameplay with the moving boards that you're playing on, the customization of your incarnates, but then mixed in with the fact that NFTs, like the pay to earn side of thing completely aside, the uniqueness to owning something that either very few or no one else can earn in the game just sounds amazing to me.
Permanent. I mean, I like when we really wrapped our heads around this permanent ownership, tradability, sellability. Like think about all the end user agreements that people have been like sued about. It's like, no, we want there to be a community where you can trade and you can feel that like you have ownership in the game in the same way that I do, right? You forged this build, it's yours. You own it.
That
right?
is so awesome.
Sell it, trade it, put it in your game, do what you want. It's yours.
So I'm going to cut it there because I'm going to want to ask questions which we don't want to drop the answers to. But Sham, honestly, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and talking to us. Guys, as I said before, make sure that you look out for the video which Hell Hades is going to be putting on his second channel, talking about the NFT side of things that's coming with Incarnate. And obviously make sure that you check out all the information on Skeleton Hand and get involved, join their Discord, and get ready for Incarnate to drop in just a few weeks now. So there you have it, guys. That is the interview that I had with Sham from Skeleton Hand. Obviously, massive thank you to Sham for joining me this week. Paul, what did you think?
Very interesting, very interesting. It's good to hear from a creative director directly. There's very few games, I think, as players and us and members of the community, where we get to hear directly with the people who almost conceive the idea from nothing. And the fact he was talking about, I was interested, I made a board game, and that's where everything came from, and then I got a few extra guys in. It really kind of goes into that process, essentially, of how these games become sort of concept in someone's mind into actually something that can be built, and how difficult it is. I mean, he's been developing this from, what did he say, 2015?
Yeah.
That's a long period of time.
One thing that I've always said, and it was something that Hell Hades and I both picked up on from the day that we met Sham, was that his passion will bring success no matter what he works on, because you almost feed off his enjoyment for what it is that he's doing, and you can see that he's doing it because he loves it. He's not doing it because he wants to get rich. He's not doing it because he wants to benefit from it. It's something that he's got a passion for. He wants to create this universe, create this world, and create these experiences with other people. And that's really what's driving the game forward. And I think that's something special these days, especially within the genre that we play. I think a lot of that's been lost.
As players, we get invested in the world around us, not the mathematical equations or whether something earns enough money. And I think that's having someone, whether or not that's a sort of sustainable model, it's always for the quality of the game. You need someone involved who's got the passion to see the project through to what it should be, not what investors want it to be, or what the big wigs at the top of the HQ want it to be. And you can tell it's a labor of love from the way he's been talking about how it's developed and where it's got to. So it sounds really good. And as I said, I've been keeping my ear close to the Incarnate progress, but not actually having any time to sit in and actually see what's going on with it. So it's good to get an understanding of why the game is being developed more than anything else.
Sure. So, I mean, I picked up on, I obviously played the game back in January when we did the original alpha test. And I actually edited or did all the video editing and things like that for Skeleton Hand when they were producing their Kickstarter video. And this was really, I guess, towards the beginning of HellHades.com. So I was already editing for HellHades, but it was something that, you know, the whole business side of things and stuff were just getting started. And I was playing the game a lot when we were going through that process of getting it ready to get a player base behind and things like that. But actually since then, I've been too busy to actually get involved in it. But some of the things that they've been hinting about recently just sound almost unreal for this type of genre. And we touched on it at the end of the interview there, but that phrase, that since I've heard it, has just stuck with me. You know, the play to earn.
Play to earn. That's new. That's
yeah.
You know, as gamers, we know pay to win. We know grind. We know these things. Play to earn. That's an interesting concept. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that gets implemented, because it could represent a whole new reward system in games. I think at the moment, many games have sort of pivoted towards pay. You know, you pay to get what you want, and it's more RNG, whether that be shards, loot boxes, packs.
Yep.
Every game seems to come out with this model of, here you go, spend 10, 15, 20 pounds and you might get the thing you want, and then that thing actually has no intrinsic value to you, and it tends to be replaceable every year.
There's such a dangerous borderline between even pay to accelerate your progress and just pay to win.
There is a distinction, and it's a very difficult distinction for a lot of individuals to identify. Many games might sound like it's pay to win, when actually it's pay to progress, or pay to speed up the way that the game is going to work for you, which isn't quite the same thing. That doesn't mean that the person who isn't paying it can't get to the same conclusion. I think I heard rumors of New World, one of the other games that we're keeping an eye on very closely from Amazon Studios, suggesting that they might offer us a paid option for power leveling and progressing through the game.
That scares me.
And that's dangerous, especially in an MMO game where you know, half of the fun is in the adventure and the journey. Unless you are playing a sort of well-established game like WoW or the game that comes to mind for me is something like Lord of the Rings Online, where it's got so many years of expansion and storylines. If you're just going to play it to get to endgame, you lose the reason why you would want to play the game. You lose the adventure. So I think hearing that from New World, and if it follows the similar models of everything else we see in the gaming community, we're ending up in this dangerous path where we as players are suggesting to the people who make these decisions that paying these RNG or accelerated rates or paying to win is actually what we want as a community, when I think many people don't really want that. They understand, I would say, from my own personal experience, I understand a game requires money.
Yep.
But is it healthy for a game ecosystem to build itself upon this concept of tradable, non-renewable value, if that makes sense? You know, taking Raid, for example, once you've got all the champions, what happens when you get they release another bunch? It's just never ending, and that can lead to very negative experiences in games. Well, so this play to earn sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we don't have a lot of information on this. I know that it is going to be released in a video with HellHades very soon. It's something that Sham's going to be discussing with him. But obviously he mentioned NFTs, okay? I know a little bit about NFTs. I sort of know...
Go on, Dan. Give us the definition of an NFT.
No. Is it
quickly type in Google what is NFT?
Yeah, so it's non...
It's a fungible token.
Okay, I was going to get non and token. I'm not sure about the fungible. But I mean, so the idea behind them obviously is it's effectively or how it was explained to me was it's like a digital currency, almost like a crypto, I guess, or very similarly compared to
my
crypto.
understanding, it's in essence, it's a digital copyright certificate of ownership.
Okay, yeah.
I think it started when Jack Dorsey, founder of Twitter, sold his first ever tweet as an NFT token, and that the person who bought it essentially owned the digital copyright rights. It's a bit like how crypto works in the sense that when you mine it and you exchange it, the bureau certifies ownership of that crypto coin to yourself, and it works a similar way.
And more so recently, the sale of the Charlie Bit Me video.
Yeah,
as an NFT.
Harambe, what's the gorilla? The gorilla was another one.
Was that sold as well? Was it?
Yeah,
okay,
I believe
interesting.
so.
So, I mean, this isn't a new thing. So, I think the first time that I heard of NFTs was back when Pokemon cards were blowing up online again a few months ago, and people were doing all the Pokemon packs openings. And I think it was Jake Paul or Logan Paul, as a part of their pack opening. If you were to buy a pack off of them for them to open on stream, you also got a NFT Pokemon card of them.
Which really?
Which you could keep forever, and that was kind of my first experience with NFTs. I was like, well, what is this? And apparently it is the next big thing, and I can understand why as well, because it's almost like you're owning digital property.
It's basically, it's like what we used to do when we were kids. I think I mentioned this before. You go to the shop when it's the World Cup, and they've got the trading cards for the players, and you collect those trading cards, or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon. And now that we've gone into a world where our devices are our lives to some extent, phone, tablets, it's that the same concept just modernizing itself now to a world where digital ownership is just as valuable as physical ownership, or to some extent more valuable.
Yeah. So in terms of the gaming world, how would you envision that this would be implemented into a game such as Raid?
So I think for a game, in my opinion, ownership is kind of the value in, or the enjoyment in the game. It's that achievement of gaining or achieving a set objective, or gaining a new piece of gear, or getting a new champion. These situations reward you, and you feel excited when you get them. The classic thing is when you pull shards, you pull the champion you've always wanted. 10 times when you get Kaimon, you don't. You get really excited when you pull that champion, then you own it, and that level of ownership is almost bragging rights to some extent if you've got that kind of ego, but also a sense of completionists. In MMO there is a subset of the community that is always a completionist, and they have to do every objective, little, big, small, how important, whether you get anything for it. So I think NFT ownership, or objects that essentially provide a certificate of ownership that you have, if it becomes unique to you, and that's a unique object, then you're just accelerating that same emotion on a larger scale. So this object, instead of everyone having one, now I have it myself. And then not only do I feel even more like I want to brag, I could also feel like I've achieved it even better because I've acquired something that no one else can acquire, which obviously has its dangers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that does concern me. Games like Raid, for instance, would be broken if you had the ability to sell champions in the game.
But then there's two ways to look at it. You need to find a way to do it where it doesn't affect the outcome of the overall gameplay. So what I mean by this is, say like it was an MMO, and there was a piece of gear that was unique, but it gave you 500,000 more HP, which meant that any content you ever did, it was super easy. Many players would object to that piece because they would say it's imbalanced. If I couldn't get to it, then I can never get to it, and it's unfair. Very much what the issue is with the dupe system being proposed by Plarium right now. If I've got 4 Siphies, then I'm always going to be ahead of everyone else who can't get 4 Siphies.
Sure.
That's the dangerous aspect. Now, if you treat it where it's non-gameplay impacting, but it still adds value, that is the golden ratio, the golden zone, where it has an impact in the game, but it doesn't affect the overall outcome of the game. then you get a very good product and a good offering. Yes. And I think, depending on what the guys over at Skeleton Hand do, if the fact that the game has got so much customization, if they can make an outcome there where I can achieve something that is valuable, whether it's valuable in terms of personal wealth, as in I've found some level of, this is great, I'm wonderful, whatever, self trip and ego trip or something, or whether it's actually holding some in-game value as well, as long as it doesn't affect it to the extent where you can't compete or the whole purpose of the game, it can't be done. I think it's the next level.
I actually agree. And coming from somebody who, back when Blizzard launched the Real Money Auction House on Diablo 3, I was at college at the time, and I literally paid my way through a good few months of college just from that auction house. I farmed that thing.
How long did that auction house last?
About 3 months.
It didn't end well.
No, it didn't, and that's because of people like me. So I do apologise. But
time's the problem.
Yeah, well, the thing was, as a kid at college, I saw this opportunity that actually, I could play video games and I could get paid for doing it, because
enterprising man that you are.
Yeah, all I have to do is farm this game that I love playing anyway, and I just sell the items that I get, and I'm making money. And at the time as well, I was dabbling in streaming. I was doing like stream runs, and I was probably one of the higher level people, I guess, around at that time because of how much I was playing it. And it gave me the ability to go pick up these items, and I was, to be honest, even trash, I was putting anything on that auction house, and it almost unfortunately made it, because there were so many people like me doing that to get into the game and into the end game, you had to spend real money.
Absolutely.
And all of the items which were so hard to get, people weren't even equipping onto themselves, they were just selling them. I think the biggest sale that I personally got was about £100, so like $100, €100 for one item, and I was selling tens and tens of items per day.
I mean, this is the issue. It brings to mind as a football fan, go Chelsea.
Yep.
Totally non-off topic. The FIFA always used to be a great game when I grew up. I played FIFA 12, 13, 14, every iteration. It's got to the point now where the main concept of FIFA is Ultimate Team.
Yeah.
But it's actually
and that's the
not
pack
playable.
Openings, right?
That is the pack on it, because what happens is they release a brand new game and then everyone goes in and spends £10,000, and then you're up against the teams which they've got ridiculous players, and you end up not being able to earn your way through the game. You actually have to pay to progress and even just compete, and it becomes extremely demoralizing, and I stopped playing it about 2 years ago.
Whilst we're actually on that subject, because I used to play FIFA when I was a kid, but mainly because my older brother was really into football and I wasn't, and the only thing that I was allowed to play on the PlayStation when he was around was FIFA. But in terms of those the pack openings and the things like, how much money does that actually cost for one of those packs? Because I see people opening them like crazy.
So, as a concept for you, the best way to explain it is, imagine the packs you buy for one shard opening in Raid.
Yep.
And then if you want to make a full team, triple it.
Yikes.
An average pack, I believe, is around... You can buy it with gold coins. So the idea really it should be is you should be able to acquire the same level of content, but at a slower pace. So that you're paying for the privilege of going faster. Now, the problem with FIFA versus something like Raid Shadow Legends, I can pay to pull the shards and then I can do it quicker, but it's not stopping me. There's plenty of accounts out there that can complete all of the content with the free champions and the shards that you get on a regular basis.
Yeah.
However, with FIFA, you're talking a standard pack, something like £14 to £20. You might get a good player, and you just can't compete with the people who are willing to drop £10,000 on the first weekend or pay for the added package. And then your ability to progress is actually slowed down because you can't win the games, which means you can't acquire the coins. And those end up being a situation where you are effectively without paying for it, you can't progress. So there's a lot of money. I think I read somewhere that Ultimate Team makes something like this in terms of the overall annual sales of the game, in terms of the boxed version.
Yep.
Ultimate Team makes the same in about a month as it does for the entire year.
So what scares me about that is actually because FIFA, they bring out a new game every year. So what happens with your Ultimate Team every year?
You can carry it over some of them.
Okay.
But you don't carry the cards over. And this is the interesting topic for me around playing to earn.
Yep.
Right now, a lot of these games, even to some extent, likes of Raid Shadow Legends, any of the gacha games, you are investing. The classic statement is you're paying for pixels. Well, actually, you are, because there's no real world currency revolved into it. There's no value to that account other than what I place on it myself.
And if the game closes down, that's it.
It's gone. All that investment is gone. Yep. There's no reward. There's no refinancing that. Whereas if you have an environment or a game world which is sustainable and it becomes almost to the essence of what EVE had managed to achieve, EVE Online.
Yeah.
EVE Online is the closest thing I've seen in a game where it's actually representing a reliably good economy. Yep. They've generated an actual facility where you can buy low, sell high. You can play the stocks in different trades. You can move resources around, and you end up actually creating more of a sort of like a value beyond just pixels, because you generate, you train your character, your pod. And I think having those kinds of concepts in games where you extend beyond the limitation of just the game is a really interesting topic. And we've seen over the last 5 years how these loot boxes are starting to get a lot of attention from government organizations. And also, yes, they're earning lots of money for game developers, which is great because it means more games will be developed. However, that comes at the cost. And what would be interesting to see is what's the next evolution, the next step of how do games finance themselves in a more ethical way?
Yeah, so it's not just preying on people's incomes and things like that. Because I think we could probably actually do a whole discussion in itself based on the gambling side of things. And I think that would be a great topic for us to cover. Actually, the negative effects of the games that especially our community get involved in. And there is a dark side to these type of games, but
Absolutely.
If you could combat that with the fact that actually, yes, you've whaled out, but what you've whaled out on has a value, and you have the ability to take that with you, because an NFT, for example, isn't bound into the realms of just that game. That is a almost like an item which you own. That
essentially it's tradable. It's a bit like, as you were saying with Diablo, where you could trade it in a marketplace. It's just a little bit more ethical because it's an object rather than pixels. I'm not trading. I'm trading pixels,
but it exists outside of the world of the game, is what I mean.
It's a certificate of like ownership, or a unique item of ownership, which means it adds value almost immediately because there's nothing else like it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just had another Kaima or just another FIFA player, it doesn't have the same level of value. It's not my token. It's not my champion. It's not unique to that person. Can I name it something that's unique? It's that same old adage. The best example is whenever you get a new expansion or a new MMO out or a new realm opens, the first thing anyone ever does is they log in instantly and just create all the character names.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you want to reserve your character name because that's what you want. Like that's the biggest example of that kind of concept of, if it's unique and ownership to me, then great. That's I really enjoy that as a player because that's something good. That's a good feeling. So if you compare that well with a sustainable level of income to develop the games, it could be an interesting way forward out of this loot box issue that we've got right now in gaming, where it feels like developers have the only option for them is to go this loot box way because it's the only sustainable way for them.
Yep. I mean, I'm excited to see what happens. I can't wait to see what happens when Sham finally drops this conversation with Hell Hades and we find out exactly what they've got planning. Because obviously at this point we are speculating. So perhaps next week, once we've actually seen this video, we can have a catch up and just see how close we were to what they've got planned on it. But I think Incarnate, what they're talking about there is something that could be very, very special, and they could be paving the way for other games within this genre to hopefully follow suit and either that or corner the market, and they'll find their way as being that go-to game for this style of gameplay where you invest money into the game to play it or to get things in the game, but at the same time you're still retaining some value of that money potentially, of that investment. So you're not just almost throwing away the money, you're actually receiving something for it.
So what timescales are we looking at for Incarnate, Dan? When is what stage is it in at the moment?
So based on what Sham revealed to me during the interview, we're looking at the 6th of July for paid members on the hellhades.com website to get access. 1 week later, it will be available to all members of the Hell Hades website. And then I'm not 100% sure on the actual global launch. Initially, members of our website will have access to the game before anyone else to get the feel for it. So
if you haven't created an account and you're listening to this podcast episode today, go create your account, hellhades.com, free.
Absolutely.
Get yourself in on the Incarnate beta.
Yeah. So to finish up today's episode, because we're around the 40-minute mark, something which I know we mentioned last week that we'd like to talk about, is there a For Science Club this week?
The For Science? I think we do need a standing segment, don't we? The latest For Science.
I live for the For Science Club.
The For Science Club. Oh, I don't know. Well, I suppose this week's For Science statement could be: don't sell all your attack amulets straight away. Because if you have an attack amulet with your Man-Eater in Raid Shadow Legends, and it has crit damage rolls, you might find you do more damage than if you have a crit damage amulet.
That's interesting.
Science. The science behind it, Man-Eater, to most people who probably don't know and may be listening, has the highest, or one of the top 5 highest multiplier on his A2 siphon.
Yep.
Which means it's something of the nature of 8.2 or 8.5 off the top of my head. Now that basically means 1 point of attack is far more valuable to that skill than, say, something of a normal average multiplier of 4. It's essentially double the value, which means you might find on a normal champion 40% crit damage is more efficient than 265 attack. However, for someone like Man-Eater, who gains a lot of multiplication of damage from his raw base stat, considering he has quite a bad base attack, 265 attack is probably going to net you more than, or more specifically, 40% crit damage with attack sub-roll amulets is going to be less effective than a 6-star attack amulet with a couple of crit damage rolls. The perfect one would be a quad roll attack-based amulet with crit damage.
That would be a naughty amulet.
That could probably add an extra 10% to your Man-Eater, which might make the difference between a 2-key, a 3-key, or even a 1-key.
Absolutely. So is there somewhere on the website where they can make that calculation, or is it something in the works? Or
there is a damage efficiency tool on the website, which is useful to know whether or not your build is balanced in terms of damage efficiency. So what we talk about there is, for the amount of attack or defense that I have, how much crit damage should I be adding before I should add more primary stat?
Mm-hmm.
If I've got 4,000 defense, but I've only got 165 crit damage, the calculator will effectively tell you how much crit damage you should continue to add before you should consider adding more defense. It's a bit, it's a complicated formula because it's based
kind
on
of like finding that perfect balance in the scales.
Exactly. If you imagine a bit of a wavy chart, it's trying to find the one in the middle where it's 100% efficient, and it's based primarily off base attack. Normally, the larger the base attack, the more primary stat you should be putting onto your build versus a champion with less. Some people might think because it's got a larger base attack, it means that I don't have to prioritize attack. No, it's not the case. You should try and balance it out more. Someone of the ilk of Bistoffus who has 1,700 primary attack, or 1,795, the highest in the game, he obviously should be on somewhere like 6,000 to 7,000 attack before you should even be cresting 230 to 240% crit damage, which most people would think is unimaginable for many champions. But that is just how the calculation works. But if you're a member, free, on the Hell Hades website, you can jump into the tools section on the menu, and you should be able to use those tools amongst other things.
Awesome. That's real food for thought, because I've always sort of approached it that, if I want to get the most damage out of champion, 100% crit rate, make sure they've got the crit damage neck in there to boost that up. Obviously, I know about the tool and trying to make that balance, but I certainly wouldn't have thought that an attack neck could actually outweigh a crit damage neck. So there is our For Science Club.
For Science for the week.
Absolutely.
Yes, science!
So yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We will close out the podcast here. Again, make sure that you follow us on Spotify. This does also go out on my YouTube channel. Stay tuned for next week. And have a good week, everyone.
Raid Boss, the epic tabletop game. Have endless encounters and experiences with your party. Available now.